So John, let's talk Potomac real estate. I want to understand what you're seeing in the marketplace. We've been helping a lot of folks look at Potomac, put a lot of stuff on the market in Potomac over the last year, but the market's changed radically in Potomac year over year. As a buyer, how should people be thinking about Potomac right now?
So interestingly, we did a segment last week around the same time, and about Vienna.
Mm-hmm.
And the Vienna in terms of your increase in sales price, your average sales price was up $200,000, right? It's almost exactly the same in Potomac, right? What we're seeing is, to me, really interesting as a guy who studies markets all over the place. Your average days on market in Potomac is actually 34 days. That's up 325% from last year. Last year in March, your average days on market was 8, right? And so now you're dealing with a 34-day market. That's more of kind of like a normal market, right?
That's one of the most normal markets we've seen in a very long time.
Yeah.
In terms of days on market.
Right. And also with last year, what you saw is basically, a quicker days on market in 8, but you also saw there was tons of competition. Things were escalating almost 9% over list price, which is kind of sick to think about it. So as you can imagine, in the short term, we talk about this all the time. In the short term, you can, on the listing side, you can control your price a lot more, right? And for the buyers, when they're seeing days on market accumulate, they can control more on you as a listing client, right? And so what you're seeing here is really an interesting thing. It's about 100% list to sales price ratio in Potomac at 34 days on market. So it's oftentimes where we're thinking, okay, if you're on the market 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 days and more, that you're going to get a discount from the list price. That's not actually happening, right? So the market last year, 8 days on market, but this year 34, and it's a much more stable and steady market, and you're averaging about 100% of your list price. So.
Well, what's amazing about that list price and sales price now is it's up year over year over $200,000.
That's right. Yeah.
And these are not insignificant numbers. I mean, we're talking about, 1.5 million to 1.7 million plus in terms of average sales price. What that means then is that there's been an increase over the course of the year from March to March is what we're measuring currently.
Right.
Over the course of a year of that $200,000+ in
Mm-hmm.
Potomac.
Mm-hmm.
What that's also really what's interesting about that is now what people are asking for, they're getting 100% of what they're asking for on average.
Right.
Last year, they were getting 100 and almost 9% of what they were asking for this same time of year.
Yeah.
So there's a difference in velocity of demand for sure. And that velocity of demand continued to push up the price over the course of the rest of the year, such that now in a more quote normal market,
Mm-hmm.
we are experiencing a $200,000+ increase over last year. So really interesting market trend. You also were mentioning how much cash is in the market.
Yeah. Before we get to that, I want to talk specifically about what does an offer look like this year versus last year.
Yeah, please.
So when you're competing with 10 other offers and you're raising the price, as a listing client, the price is going up, 9% over list. You're getting an offer as a listing client that doesn't have a home inspection, doesn't have an appraisal, doesn't have a financing contingency. It doesn't have sort of bombs in the contract that are going to allow the deal to fall apart. What you see with 34 days on market, though, is it's one person may be coming to the table, right? And you may get a home inspection. In fact, you're almost guaranteed to get a home inspection, in this type of a market. You're almost guaranteed to get a financing contingency. You're almost guaranteed to have an appraisal contingency as well. So if you need a rent back, last year, if you needed a rent back, meaning you want to stay in the house after you sell it because you're waiting to finish out your school year or something like that, people were paying, you could get a free rent back, right? Which in this market, you may not get that, right? So the terms, and we've talked about this a lot previously in shows, but the reality is the market is dynamic. It's always changing. And so you have this year, though, the terms in the contract could be a lot different than what you were experiencing last year as a seller in Potomac.
Yeah, and by the way, when we're speaking about this, we're speaking specifically about Potomac. We were talking about, we had a client we were speaking to just the other day about Annapolis, and that was a different reality. Another client who we were talking about Upper Northwest, and another in Vienna. So each of those markets, and I think this is part of the reason why we want to talk about this, is each market is hyper local.
Yeah.
And so the same rule does not apply in one subdivision versus another, in particular when they're in different zip codes.
Yeah.
So this is why we study this the way that we do. All right, let's talk about really quick. So I want to keep moving. We're 7 minutes in. I want to talk about waiving contingencies. So this idea that, do you waive contingencies now or not? You kind of alluded to what what buyers were waiving a year ago in Potomac versus now. What are you seeing? And how do you go through the process? I think this is even more important. How do you understand whether or not you should be waiving contingencies?
So there's so many ways to approach this. One of the ways to think about it is like understanding the competition. And if you're going to write an offer, and we wrote 3 offers yesterday, and we won 2 offers and lost 1. We were second place on another offer. And how does it, so we lost to another offer, but we were in second out of 8 or 9 offers or something. So the reality is that you can't, how do you decide? You decide because you understand competition. You understand what you have, what you're competing against. Sometimes the agent on the other side will be able to help you understand what it is that they have. And I would say a great listing agent is not going to let you know exactly what they have, but they're going to cause you to have to think about what you might want to do. And that's the job of the listing agent, is to sort of create doubt and also give you hope that you could win, right? But also the doubt, so that you could have to talk to your client and say, look, we should waive our home inspection, we should waive our appraisal contingency, we should waive our financing contingency. And a lot of times too, which is important, you don't get a second chance to be in the mix with all these offers. Right. So your first shot should really be your best shot, because you may not get a call back. Right. And if it, and me included, if you're a busy agent and you're talking to, you've got 10 offers or even 5 offers. Well, you're really working with the client, and you're really working with those agents on all of those deals, but you may not get a call back if you're too significantly not in the mix.
Right.
What rises to the top gets paid attention to. And sometimes, well, I would say most of the time, what you want to do is you want to go in with your best foot forward and grab the attention of the listing agent, because that to me is everything. And you're never guaranteed a call back. Sometimes people will say to us well, how come you didn't call us back? Well, you weren't even close.
You weren't in the mix.
You weren't in the mix.
Yeah.
So anyway,
got to do your research to know whether you're going to waive. Okay, 10 seconds. Final thing. How do you figure out, you have been successful at teaching your kids how to play an instrument. What's your methodology as a dad? 10 more seconds. Go.
Well, I would say I don't know how successful I have been at teaching my kids to play instruments, but my kids have actually picked up guitar, they've picked up piano, and I think music is one of the things that's really always going in our house. Whether we're playing instruments or whether the music is on, I would say we play a lot, right? And I think one of the
play with them as well.
Yeah, play with them. Yeah, I think one of the best ways really to learn is, and I think this is great for probably any instrument, but certainly for guitar and for piano, is to get a speaker, and then have the speaker play, put on a station that you like and where you like the music, and let that just play. And then you're trying to figure that out as it goes along. And that's a really great way to learn, and also a really fun way to learn as well. So real quick, I can remember growing up having piano lessons, and we would, I'd get these assignments weekly, and I'd be sitting there going, "Oh man, this is just so boring," And at one point, I just started turning on the radio and listening to, all these different radio stations, and I would play the radio and the piano. I'd figure out all these songs. So my teacher would give me these assignments, and they were so boring. And I would come back, and she'd be like, "Okay." On the next week, she'd say, "Look, play what I gave you." And I was like, "I didn't learn it at all, but I have all these songs now." So anyway, so I'll leave you with that. That's to me.
I love it. It's just a different methodology altogether, but I want to pick up guitar, and the idea of trying to just do it, by the book, seems grueling, and I enjoy listening to music anyway. So what the heck? Let's
last thing on that.
Yeah.
It's some of the other really great advice I can give to anybody who's trying to do this. Put the guitar, if it's guitar, like put it in a room on a stand where you walk in and out of that room a lot, because that will allow you the occasion to go in and sit down. And, I got this thing right here, so I don't know how this is backwards. So, so as it is sort of accessible, you're going to be able to be more inspired to play it when you have 10 minutes in between calls or something like that. So
don't let it get dusty. That's really
good. All right, man.
All right. Good stuff. Thanks.
Get that counter, man. I want that counter.
But nobody would have learned about how to play guitar either. So
we would have been 2 minutes and 40 seconds late.
Yeah. All right, man. See ya.
All right, man.